Have you ever wondered why you stick to some habits but just can't seem to break others? Or why you make certain choices almost on autopilot? Well, every single day there's this incredibly powerful force guiding you, and that force is your own mind. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain and take a look at its secret operating system. This is really the core idea we're diving into. See, your mind isn't just a thinking machine. No, it's the silent architect of your daily life, influencing everything from the coffee you grab in the morning to the biggest goals you set for your future. So, what is it that makes this force so potentially dangerous? What's the hidden catch here? That's it, right there. Most of this control is happening completely under the radar, subconsciously. But just becoming aware of these hidden programs, that's the first and most important step to taking back the controls. So here's our game plan. We'll start with the brain's factory settings, the basics. Then we'll see how those settings create some really common traps. After that, we'll look at how this all plays out in the real world, and we'll finish with the one master key that can honestly change everything. Let's start by looking at the fundamental, hardwired programming that your brain comes with right out of the box. Getting this is key to understanding everything else. Okay, so this right here is a fundamental conflict that we all face. We're all striving for success, for growth, for change, but our brain's number one priority is something else entirely: comfort.
You know what? This isn't a bug. It's actually a feature left over from our evolutionary past. Its main job is survival, which means staying safe and avoiding anything that looks like danger. The only problem is, real growth and success live just outside that comfort zone. So here's the actionable step. Start to recognize that feeling of resistance not as a stop sign, but as a compass pointing directly toward growth. Then you can consciously choose to push past that stay safe signal when you know a risk is totally worth taking.
And here's another default setting that can really trip us up. It's often called the negativity bias. And again, your brain isn't trying to make you miserable. It's just trying to keep you safe by learning from every single bad experience. And this is exactly how it plays out in real life. You could have 10 amazing things happen in one day, but your mind will latch on to that one negative comment or that one little mistake. Why? Because it flags it as a potential threat to avoid down the road. So the actionable step here is to actively counter-program this. Make it a daily habit to write down or even just say out loud 3 good things that happened. It consciously gives more weight to the positive and helps balance the scales. Now for the third and final default setting, your brain's powerful drive for efficiency. To save precious mental energy, it absolutely loves to create shortcuts. And we call those shortcuts habits. It really all boils down to saving energy. Conscious thought is hard work, so your brain turns any repeated action, whether it's good or bad, into a low-energy automatic script. This is exactly why breaking a bad habit feels like you're fighting a war with yourself. Your brain is literally fighting to keep its energy-saving shortcut. But here's the good news. You can use this exact same process to build good habits until they become just as automatic. Okay, so now that we get the default settings, the desire for comfort, the focus on negativity, and the love of habits, let's look at the predictable mental glitches and traps they create for us every single day. Have you ever noticed how a tiny little worry can feel like an absolute catastrophe at 2 in the morning? This is a direct result of mental fatigue. When your brain is drained, its ability to manage emotions just gets weaker, and it lets that negativity bias we just talked about run wild. The simplest action? Just defer. Tell yourself, you know what? This is not a problem for tonight. I'll deal with it in the morning. And so often, with a rested mind, that huge problem shrinks right back down to its actual size. This is such a powerful idea, because that feeling of fear, the one that stops you from asking for a raise or starting that new project, it feels incredibly real. But psychologically, it's just a projection. The crucial thing to get is that your brain doesn't always know the difference between a real threat and an imagined one. The fear of public speaking can trigger the same fight or flight response as seeing a predator. So the actionable step is just to recognize this. When you feel that fear bubbling up, ask yourself, is this a real physical danger right now, or is this a projection? Just by labeling it as a thought, you start to dismantle its power and realize the catastrophe you're imagining almost never, ever happens. This is the antidote to the fear of being judged. We all tend to operate under what's called the spotlight effect, where we feel like we're on a stage and everyone is watching our every move. But the reality is, everyone else is on their own stage, worried about their own spotlight. Internalizing this truth is just so freeing. It gives you the permission to act, to try new things, and yeah, even to fail, without carrying the weight of all that imagined judgment. So we've looked at our internal programming and its traps. Now let's see how these exact same forces, our need for comfort, our fear of pain, our reliance on shortcuts, play out in our interactions with the world and with other people. Every like, every notification, every new post, it's a tiny little hit of dopamine, a chemical reward in your brain. Social media apps are literally designed to trigger this reward loop over and over, keeping you hooked. But just understanding this lets you regain control. A super simple action: turn off all your non-essential notifications. This breaks that automatic loop and puts you back in charge of when you get that chemical hit, instead of letting the app call the shots. Okay, here is a seriously powerful tool for any conversation. Most people are deeply uncomfortable with silence. It creates uncertainty and their brains just want to fix it. So when you ask a question and then just pause and wait, their brain starts screaming to fill that void, to restore comfort. And in that moment, they often reveal way more than they intended to. Try it in your next negotiation or even just a simple chat. It's a really subtle but effective way to shift the dynamic. Beyond what you say, your body language sends these powerful psychological signals. And eye contact? It's a cornerstone of this nonverbal communication. It's processed by the brain as a sign of confidence, of power, and of trustworthiness. It immediately builds your credibility before you've even made your point. It's such a small physical action, but it has a huge psychological impact. All right, we've covered the brain's defaults, its traps, and its social dynamics. Now we've arrived at the final and, honestly, the most important fact, the one that puts the controls right back in your hands. This is it. This is the big one, and it connects directly back to how your brain forms habits. Your brain is a powerful learning machine, but it doesn't really know the difference between what's objectively true and what's simply repeated. Repetition literally carves neural pathways, turning simple thoughts into automatic, deeply held beliefs. And this brings us to the ultimate takeaway. This isn't just some feel-good quote, it's a statement of psychological fact. The internal story you tell yourself day in and day out, "I'm not good enough," or "I always mess this up," that story literally builds the lens through which you see the world. So this is the master key. You can consciously choose the thoughts you repeat. The action is simple, but it's not easy. Every time you catch a negative limiting thought, you replace it. If you think, "I can't do this," you replace it with, "I can figure this out." Over time, you will literally rewire your brain. So that's really what it all comes down to, isn't it? Your life isn't just controlled by random chance or by your circumstances. It's controlled by the programs running in your mind. And now that you can see them, the real question is, which ones will you choose to rewrite?